both Luka and LeBron are averaging 20-plus points, 7 rebounds, and 7-plus assists. Only 3 players in the NBA are hitting those marks. The Lakers have 2 of them. The other one is
That's, right?
the Joker. Yeah.
Oh,
And Murray.
the Joker.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Mad Dog, who's the best duo in the NBA?
I tell you, it's a tricky one because you got Tatum and Brown you have to consider. They've won a championship. These two haven't. But I'm going to say these two. I mean, think about it. LeBron's probably, top 2, top 3 players in the history of the league, and he's still excellent. And Luka, from a standpoint, I know he's got a lot to prove now, but Luka's, top 2, 3 players in the league? So you got basically a top 5, top 6 player, and you got a top 2, top 3 player. Nobody else has that. And I both want to play with each other. I think LeBron will have a great influence on him. And there's some other combinations, and I think the curiosity is interesting. Because everybody's interested to see how these two play. So I will take these two. Why am I full of it?
How you give it? You gave KD all that heat about moving around, and you don't have no smoke for Bron?
Fair. I have gotten on LeBron in the past, though. And at least he went back to Cleveland to win a championship.
Okay, fair enough.
I give him credit for that. Go ahead.
I am impressed, though, that we jumped to this being the most dynamic duo sight unseen to a degree.
It's a curiosity. That adds to the element. That adds to it.
All right, because I'm going with the duo that you mentioned off the top of your conversation. They're still wearing the crowns, and I'm looking at Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. I think while there have been moments this season so far where the Celtics maybe don't demonstrate championship-level focus, I think those guys understand that now the clock is about to strike March, and it's go time. I mean, Jayson Tatum's efficiency this year is just so impressive in terms of what he's been able to do as far as scoring the basketball. Both of these guys are shooting better than 45% from the field. They've got a tremendous cast around them. For as much scrutiny as they endured the first, 6 or so years of their careers together, obviously last season they answered the call, I should say, in resounding fashion. But I think why I still have to go with these guys is the two-way ability when it comes to it all, right? Luka is 100% dynamic. LeBron is 100% dynamic. His best defense is probably past him in terms of LeBron, and his best defense is probably ahead as far as Luka. But next to these guys, I was actually looking at the guys in Oklahoma City, but right now I'm going to still go the J&J duo in Boston.
I disagree with both of y'all.
Okay, talk
I'm gonna go with Jokic and Murray in Denver. Ladies and gentlemen, they got an 8-game winning streak, the longest winning streak in the NBA. They're the 3rd seed within the Western Conference. We know what Jokic does. We know how phenomenal he is. This walking triple-double whenever he wants to be, okay? And the best big man in basketball. Have you watched Jamal Murray since January 14th, to be exact? In the last month, this brother is averaging 25 a game. He's shooting 53% from the field, 38% from three-point range, 93% from the free throw line. And oh, by the way, they're 12-4 in the process. This brother's something special. When he gets going, when Jamal Murray is healthy in the postseason, he is nothing to sneeze at. He is special. I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Jokic. I'm looking at the resurgence of Russell Westbrook, averaging 13, 6, and 5.
It's a duo. Why are you bringing him in it?
Bunny. Excuse me?
It's a duo.
I know it's a duo. I know it's a duo, but I'm just bringing him up because I love how he has assisted that dynamic duo, okay? And has taken some load off of them with his aggression, all right? We got the Christian Paul, the size. And the only reason I bring them up and I'm mentioning these other people, Eminem, is because you brought up Boston. And I'm saying to you, last year, if you remember, it was supposed to be Boston-Denver. A lot of people, Minnesota surprised a lot of people because we all thought it was going to be Boston-Denver. They were on a collision course. They played 2 games in the regular season. Both of them were nail-biters. We're looking at them, and then we looked at Boston with Porzingis and the size, and what are you going to do with that? Well, the one team that could do something with it is Denver because you got Porter's like 6'10", Aaron Gordon's like 6'9", Jokic is like 6'11", okay? Jamal Murray's no shrimp, no shrink or whatever. I mean, I'm just looking at them. Yo, they got Watson, they got Braun. Look, Jokic and Murray, special. Remember, they're champions. They know what it takes, and they're right there in the hunt. And the Lakers, warning, red flag, avoid them at all costs until you have no choice but to play them. Do not find yourself in a position where you are playing the Denver Nuggets in the first round if you're the Los Angeles Lakers, because the likelihood is that you're going to go home. You can beat anybody else. They can't mess with Denver.
Which duo do you trust the most when we're talking a 7-game series?
I would trust the Celtic duo the most.
Yeah.
Murray can be a little up and down. I would trust them. They've been together a long time. Plus, the other thing about that for them is that if one of them is a little off, a little less pressure on them. They got a couple of other guys that can help them. If Murray's off, where else are they going for offense after Jokic?
Yeah.
They need him. So that adds a little pressure, makes it a little harder. Brown has a bad day, they got Holiday. Yeah, Tatum's off, here's Porzingis.
Yeah.
That helps that duo, knowing that they have a little reinforcement if they get in trouble.
I'm with Doggy. I would go Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown of the trust conversation. But to me, it's because if they don't have it offensively, let's say both of them having offensive nights that are out of character, they can go get it on defense. As these other duos that we discussed, to me, are just heavily lopsided.
I got to tell y'all something. I don't blame y'all for saying that because they got the rings. They're the reigning defending champions. Denver had won it the year before. Let's not forget that they're not strangers to this. So we got to keep that in mind. We also, I know, Doggy, you got to see it to believe it. My brother, I'm looking at Cleveland a little bit differently.
Who's the duo?
I think. Well, again, you could give me Garland and Mitchell. You could give me Mitchell and Mobley, whatever. I'm simply saying to you, the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm watching them because the more I look at them, the more I think they could be in the NBA Finals.
Agreed.
Cleveland.
Agreed. I 100% agree with you, Stephen A., on that. And this morning we were looking at some numbers. As a team, they're flirting with 50-40 in terms of their field goal and three-point splits. They can do it on both ends of the floor. I've been really impressed with them, so I agree with you on that.
I do not like Cleveland. I think they're a regular season team. I do not like Cleveland.
I think they were a regular season team, but my man, the Godfather, Michael Wilbon, always talks about how before you win, you must suffer.
Scar tissue.
And they suffered. And they suffered. And then not only do they come back better this year, remember, it's not the same coach. You got Atkinson there now, even though Bickerstaff's doing a hell of a job in Detroit. But you got Atkinson there doing a hell of a job, and then you acquired Hunter from Atlanta, who's a 6'8" perimeter defender that can give you 19 a game, that can hit corner threes. Yo, Cleveland, with their size, their athleticism, their shooting ability, their coaching, you cannot summarily dismiss them. And it pains me to say that because I thought the East was going to come down to the Knicks and Cleveland. I find myself now on my knees praying that Mitchell Robinson's going to come back and be healthy so Karl Anthony Towns can have an extra formidable person on the front line defensively, and he could do his thing offensively from the four, like he's been doing. I'm looking at that, but I'm looking at Cleveland, and I'm like, yo, man, they look like they could beat anybody. Anybody.
Well, the Celtics right now are 4-1 against the Knicks and the Cavs. They've beaten the Cavs 2 out of 3, and they're 2-0 against the Knicks. They get the Knicks and Cleveland at home this week.
And they beat Cleveland in the road.
I thought Celtics. I thought Knicks Celtics is at TD Garden Sunday.
Yeah, that is. But they also get Cleveland next Friday.
Okay.
The 28th.
This is a little gauntlet we got in this little two-week span,
But Boston, Monica hit it right in the head. I think Boston's been bored. You win a championship, they know you get bored, but they are not bored against these two teams. So let me see Cleveland and let me see the Knicks go out there and beat them once in these next week or so. How's that?
That's one philosophy you'll use. Here's what I would say to y'all. Boredom? Well, I feel you've won back-to-back titles. You've won 3 in a row.
I knew you was about to go there.
One title? And you're bored.
But wait a minute.
Are we all agree? You're all agreeing that they're bored? I mean, that was Mad Dog's statement.
I'm not going to use the word bored per se. But I do think that they are probably pacing themselves.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I wouldn't say bored because Joe Mazzulla is a character. Like, I think he gets those guys going. I think once you win one.
All right, so here's the question.
Okay,
what does history tell us? What does history tell us when those pacing themselves have to ward off a juggernaut who's starving because they haven't had it?
Okay, I hear you on that, right? And history is going to say what? The Warriors are our last back-to-back champion, right? Now, here's where I think that gets interesting. There is some credence to Cleveland's postseason history. And we have to see, right? Because if you look at the East right now, those are the two teams that represent the upper crust, right? We're going to have to see what they look like this postseason. I think that Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are coming into a chapter in their career where the motivation is purely internal. So now that the clock has struck March, or is about to strike March, by the time the clock strikes May, we get to postseason. I don't think it's not about outside noise at this point. I think internally.
Boston should be the favorite.
Yeah.
Boston should be the favorite. I'm just saying, last year, you remember covering the Knicks series. Allen wasn't available. You know what I'm saying? Was it Allen or was it Mobley? I'm just sure. I got brain locked right now.
It was
Allen.
It was Allen, right?
And plus
so,
Mitchell missed the game too.
Mobley wasn't shooting and scoring the way that he is. They didn't have that extra big body in Hunter. And Garland has redirected himself because he had a bad year last year. Look at the way he's playing now, and you have a different coach and a different system. So there's a lot of things that are not the same in Cleveland that existed last year.
There's also experience in Boston.
Yeah. I mean, listen, experience in Boston, health in Cleveland, because last year we could all say whether you go back to December and Darius Garland breaking his jaw and not quite being able to maintain his conditioning over the course of the season that he would have liked, the Mitchell injury, whatever you want. Cleveland, I agree. I think we all agree that Cleveland looks like they can push, but I'm still giving the edge to Boston in terms of experience.
And never the Celtics. This is why I said board. They've lost to Orlando, Sacramento, and the Hawks twice at home.
Well, here's the thing.
Those are bad teams.
The Hawks, though, in particular, at one point, they was flying around. And they had personnel that could create an interesting matchup for Boston. That was when the Hawks were sort of making that push. Orlando, remember, was sitting in 5th in the Eastern Conference for a while with all those big bodies and that physical defense. So I think those games should be looked at with a grain of salt.
You do. I think, but the Celtics should beat they shouldn't lose 2 games to the Atlanta Hawks.
I mean, it's a long season. I got you.
2 games.